Okay, I'll start off with a little bit of an intro here before we get into our presentation today. So I'm Alexa Peterson. I'm the current student rep for the Canadian Society of Agronomy. And today we're here for our Green Bagger presentation series where we demonstrate the amazing work done by students across Canada. So just a little introduction to CSA. If you are not currently a member or know of people interested in joining, we offer a lot of benefits to graduate students and undergraduate students. It's a great opportunity to network with researchers and agronomists and people in industry across Canada and the world. We also offer an opportunity to present at our annual meeting, and we offer competitive awards for our graduate students. It's also an opportunity to gain access to our job network through our CSA job board and newsletters for looking for work after graduation, as well as access to scientific journals, communities, and updates on Canadian research. So with that, I will get into introducing our presenter today. Our presenter today is Tianyi Zhao. He is an MSc student working with Dr. Malinda Thilakarathna's lab at the University of Alberta. I apologize for that pronunciation. His research focuses on evaluating the effects of Humalite, a natural humate material deposited in southern Alberta as a soil amendment on alleviating canola drought stress in Western Canada. His research as part of the larger Humalite project highlights the potential of Humalite to improve canola photosynthesis, growth, and yields, particularly under moisture-deficient conditions, and provides insight to the sustainable agriculture practices. And with that, I would like to have our presenter join us. So, Tianyi, your floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much for your time for today. So today I'm going to present my research, briefly introduce my research project and present my research findings. So like Alexa said, my project is to evaluate the effects of humic-based substances, Humalite in particular, on alleviating the drought stress in canola. So briefly introduce the canola production situation here in Western Canada. It consists of almost all of the national canola production, 99% of the production in this area. You can see the map on the right side. The mass production within the area is actually under very of a drought weather. For the And following the climate change, you can see this is expected to be even drier in the area following the time. And you can see on the right side, the map, within the mass production area, there's heavy production and light production. I hope you can see that. And within the heavy production area, you can see an area of light production. This kind of light production is due to drought stress and is really restricting the productivity of the canola cropping systems at the place. So drought stress can cause well above 30% of the canola yield loss, and it's a primary restricting factor here in Western Canada. And Humalite had kind of brought people's attention as a natural humate material. It's rich in humic acid content, and with humic acid has been known to be able to improve and stimulate the growth in various crops. So this research project is to see whether Humalite is having some kind of beneficial effects on canola production, and in particular under drought stress conditions. And we'll evaluate this on different aspects, include photosynthesis, vegetative growth, seed yield, and lipid components. So quickly, I will go over my materials and methods being used. I have done in a two-factor factorial design. This is, you can see the table on the right side. We have the primary factor being the moisture treatment or the water condition, and the secondary factor being the Humalite treatment. We had two different moisture levels, 80% field capacity being the control or well water condition, and 30% field capacity being the drought stress condition. And we have four different Humalite rates: 0, the control, 400, 800, and 1600 of kilograms per hectare. We have used the fine granular Humalite exactly looking like in the graph below. I premixed them with the growing media before the trial started. So on the very right side, I have brief flow chart of what I'm doing. So before pot preparation, I first calculate all the rates and determine the field capacity. And then I prepare the pots and applied the Humalite treatment. Then I seeded, so 5 seeds per pot. And then after 1 week, I will seed the seeds into 1 seedlings per pot. And then I will impose the water treatment for the flower stage. I have two different trials. One is harvested at flowering stage and one is harvested at seed maturity stage. For the flowering stage, I impose the water treatment after 2 weeks. And for the seed maturity one, I impose the water treatment right before flowering stage. So here for the data collection, I've used the Lycor 6400 portable gas analyzer for the photosynthesis related parameters. And at the seed maturity, I use the Tango near infrared spectrometer for seed data. And I have done the analysis in a Fisher's test. So going over to the results part, we have gained some kind of convincing results showing that Humalite is really doing a great job here in improving canola performance. So for assimilation and transpiration, one of the primary parameters we have explored, you can see under both of the water conditions, Humalite have shown a significant improvement compared to control. And for transpiration rate on the right side, the graph on the right side, you can see in particularly under drought stress, it is showing significant improvement compared to control. And although under 80%, there isn't a statistical significance, I still believe that there's an improvement effect. And stomata conductance and internal carbon dioxide concentration, these two are critical parameters for related to assimilation and transpiration. Stomata conductance, we see a significant improvement under well water conditions only, in particular the 1600 kilograms per hectare. And for internal carbon dioxide, we have seen a significant improvement under drought conditions. So generally speaking, all the parameters we've observed, we see that under well water conditions, canola is performing way better than under drought stress conditions. So here's the comparison of the biomass data collected at flowering stage and maturity stage. Again, I have two different trials harvested at different times. And so at the flowering stage, we have observed significant improvement, particularly under 80%. And it's in association with the amount of Humalite applied. So 1600, you can see the graph, this labeling A is way higher than 400 labeling B and way higher than control labeling C. And at maturity stage, we have observed improvement under both water conditions. And in particular, under 80%, we have seen 800 kilograms per hectare working the best. And for the seeds, I have counted the number of seeds per plant and uh, the seed mass per plant. So for the number of seeds, we have seen similar trends for these two parameters. Both have been improved by Humalite application, and under 80%, we have seen 800 kilograms per hectare being the best. So I got a graph of what the seeds really looking like in my trial, and you can see the seeds are apparently looking quite differently. So for under the drought condition, I picked the control one comparing to the 400 of Humalite. So you can see the seeds under drought stress generally is looking more like the wrinkle shaped and shallower in color. Those seeds are not yielding good. So after Humalite treatment, you can see on the right side, the seed is looking way better, like it's more darker in color and more of round shaped. These seeds are yielding way better than the Winkle seeds. So there's quite of a significant outcome. So for the oil yield, we have had some fatty acid content. We have observed improvement under 30%. And for the total oil yield, that's calculated by the fatty acid content multiplied by the seed mass. So the total oil yield content per plant is showing both of the moisture condition is showing significant improvement. So it's pretty convincing here. And I also explored the lipid components. The lipid components here, we have the unsaturated fatty acids, including the oleic and linoleic and alpha-linolenic fatty acids. We have seen that actually Humalite does not quite have significantly altering the unsaturated fatty acid components here, but we do see that drought is doing something here. For the oleic one, we have seen that the well water condition is having a higher content than the drought one. And on the other side, the linolenic, I only include these two graphs because the alpha-linolenic does not have quite of a difference. So for the linolenic one, we have seen that under 30% is having a higher content compared to the well water condition. And these two is consisting of the vast majority of the oil components. So you can see the oleic ones generally having like 70% of the total oil content, and linolenic generally consisting of 15% of the total content. So it's pretty much the vast majority of the oil content. And going over to the saturated fatty acids, we have the palmitic and stearic acids. The palmitic one, we have seen that Humalite is reducing the both palmitic and stearic acids under drought conditions in particular, and especially 400 and 600 kilograms per hectare. So saturated fatty acid, generally speaking, is it's not a good thing compared to unsaturated fatty acid. So reducing trend is looking like is something good we want to see. So 30% fuel capacity, generally speaking, is way higher than 80%. So that kind of makes sense. And free fatty acids and glucosinolates, we have also evaluated that. And these two are the real bad things that we want to avoid as much as we can. And generally speaking, 30% is having a reducing trend by Humalite for free fatty acids. And glucosinolates, we observed the reducing trend by Humalite under 80%. So generally speaking, uh, for the moisture treatment, we have seen that drought stress consistently reduced all the parameters or canola performance under all the parameters, except they have an elevated water use efficiency. There's a higher saturated fatty acid content. There's a higher amount of glucosinolates. These are actually not good things, so higher is not good. And for Humalite, we have seen that Humalite is improving the assimilation rates, the oil yield, the biomass, seed mass, and number of seeds under both moisture level. And under 30% in particular, we have seen it also improving the transpiration rates, the fatty acids, and the internal carbon dioxide concentration. And it's reducing free fatty acid and glucosinolates. So generally speaking, our results have shown a convincing outcome that Humalite treatment is improving canola plant performance under drought stress. So it's quite of an exciting outcome we have seen. So here, this research project, thank you for the founders of the project, and special thanks to my lab members that helps a lot in this project as well. And and thank you very much for everyone who's attending here today. And that's pretty much all for my presentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was a very interesting presentation, Tianyi. I hadn't even heard of Humalite before this, but now I know it's something to look for in the future. I'm sure it will be recommended. Did anyone in the audience have any questions for Tianyi? If you do, you can jump on in or raise a hand, whatever you prefer. I just had a question. I'm obviously not very familiar, but is Humalite very economically feasible for farmers to get these results on a farm scale?
Um, I think so, yeah, because Humalite is coming from the coal mining process. Um, it's kind of like a kind of a byproduct coming from the coal mining happening in southern Alberta. So although the coal mines are now shutting down, they're over the decades they have accumulated a lot of the Humalite in on the site. So these are really cheap and economically affordable for farmers.
That's good to know. Balu?
Yeah, thank you, Tianyi. It's a good study, good presentation. Just wondering, you show the physiology effect, show the production effect. Can you briefly explain why humulate has cause such effect, can release drought stress? What's the physiological basis?
For which parameters are you
Well,
indicating?
for any of the parameter, physiologically or
Yes.
biochemically, why it can cause such effect?
So yes, Humalite is rich in humic acids. So humic acids is actually the active ingredient in Humalite that is stimulating the plant growth. So people have already known that humic acid is able to stimulate the plant performance by triggering a couple of because it's having a couple of the functioning groups. It's triggering the like the stress response pathways within the plants, but for exactly the physiological mechanism, I am not quite sure yet.
So maybe some others expected there will be a signal or growth regulator or
Yes,
nutrient. Probably is not a nutrient, right? There's no
no,
okay. All right, thank you.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Were there any other questions? We are just a bit over time, but if there was one last question anyone had? No? Well, if you are, I'm sure Tianyi would be very grateful to receive any emails you have or any input on his presentation. But I again thank you for giving such a wonderful presentation, very informative and exciting results you've obtained so far. So I look forward to seeing where your project results end up and learning more about your research in the future. So thank you again, Tianyi, and thank you everyone for attending our Green Bagger session today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for hosting this event.